Hello, one and all. This is something a little bit different. I'm not going to paint anything today. I just wanted to take the opportunity to actually say hello. Now, it's been a solid week of storm conditions here in Dortmund, so I haven't had the opportunity to really get anything done. It felt like it might be the time then to sort of stop in and introduce myself. You know, I don't always want to spend my time behind the camera, and I thought it might be cool for some of you guys to sort of to get to meet me. It feels like such an ego thing saying that, doesn't it? I don't like putting myself out there that much, so, So anyway, a little bit about myself. Now, I was born and raised in New Zealand until I was 18, moved to England, and I spent about 10 years there before coming back home for a couple of years, and now I live in Dortmund, in Germany, so it's been a journey. But I wanted to talk a little about sort of how I paint things, this series really comes from. And that starts when I was 16. Now, you must appreciate that New Zealand is not a big place. Now, I mean, geographically, physically, it's about the same size as Japan. But, big place. We only have 4 million people. So that means there was only at the time 2 Games Workshops in all of New Zealand. Everything else was covered by independent stockists. Now, I was very lucky that we had a great local store, but on the other hand, you still kind of feel like going to the workshop. In New Zealand, at least, if you didn't live in one of the 2 places that had one, it was an event. It was a pilgrimage. So one day, my mum and a couple of mates, she packed us in the car and we went to Wellington, and I got to go to the Wellington Games Workshop, and it was all very exciting. I had taken with me a little egg. I took an egg carton, okay, filled with catachans that I had painted. They were brand new at the time, the plastic catachans, and I had painted them in simple block colours. Okay, I must have done about 8 or 9 coats of dwarf flesh over a black undercoat. They were crunchy. But I took them because I wanted to get some feedback. I wanted to go and talk to the guys and to get their feedback and sort of see what I could do. And I remember it very clearly, and it actually, I guess it left an impression on me for a great many years, because I took them in, and, the guys that were there were really cool. They were welcoming. And I remember that the fella said, here's some simple stuff you could do to make these look better. He was very complimentary. He said, I can see that if you put these guys on the table, then they're going to look like what they should. It wasn't this sort of, boring flat colors. He was talking about what I'd done well, and then how I could sort of lift it up and make it look a little better. And that was a huge deal to me as a kid, because I was getting advice and I was getting the thumbs up from somebody. And he said to me then something that has also stuck with me, and you've probably heard me parrot a few times over these videos, where he said, an army on the table is going to look better than a single painted figure. And, to me, that's absolutely true. So that's sort of where I come from. That's where, I guess, the ethos of what I'm trying to do here really comes from. Now, a few years later, when I moved to England, I was lucky enough I actually got to work for Games Workshop, and that was awesome at the time. So when I talk about being lucky, a lot of that has to come from the fact our bosses at the time, the higher ups, they were wanting to sell models, sell toys, or what have you. But I was lucky enough to sort of work with some of the older guard, and really more be focused on the people, the hobby in our area. And that was something that I loved, because here I was at the center of everything. Working in the workshop, you end up this happy, chubby little spider, and the card gamers, the role players, the painters, the PC gamers, the guys who play the games that the workshop doesn't produce. Oh, dirty secrets! Oh. But the point being, you get sort of mired in everything. And that's great because so many of the ideas and the enthusiasm and just the energy that comes from being at the center of all of that is so good. I mean, we were even lucky enough that we had one of the Golden Demon winners who was local to us, and he would come in occasionally, and when he had the time, he would just sit and chat, and he would share painting advice with, 13, 14-year-old guys who were just getting started. And for these guys, they'd read about this fella in White Dwarf, they'd seen his painting win awards, and he was happy to sit there and just talk shop. And that was just, that's mind-blowing to me. That's the coolest. So that's kind of, for me, the purpose of these videos is to try and put a little bit of that back out into the world. We're living in an age now that I could not have foreseen when I was getting started, where you can go onto a website that has thousands of painting tutorials, of how-tos, of guides, all that sort of stuff. The internet puts everything right at your fingertips. Couldn't have seen that coming, and I think it's fantastic because you get to see so many different varieties of doing things. Now, in particular, the Games Workshop videos done by Warhammer TV, you might have come across old Duncan Rhodes and Peachy getting started now. Their videos are fantastic. The techniques are simple, but they tend to be a little time consuming. Doing things the right way is, with all the love in the world, the slow way, normally. To my mind, what I sort of look towards when people are just getting started is, if you'll bear with me for a second, if you finish a single miniature, it's exciting. It is. There's always one within arm's reach. Here we go. So I've got here, this is one of Black Tree's American soldiers, and I finished him, and he's great. I like him. He's really cool. You can't see him particularly well, but I'm dead happy with him. Okay? Now you paint a single figure, and you go, oh, that's cool. That's really satisfying. I'm glad that I did that. It is an accomplishment. But then you take that excitement, and we're gonna bring out the scale a little bit. So you take that excitement, and that's our excitement level there. Okay? Ta-da! I painted a man. Yay! I promise this is going somewhere. So you take that excitement, and let's say you paint 10 figures. And that excitement, you get that unit, that 10-man metric, can't get my hands to sit, there we go. That 10-man unit of excitement. Okay, and you go, oh, that's really good. I feel good about that. That's exciting. And it is. But hear me out, because if you take that excitement and you move it across, I'll swap my hands there so I'm not blocking my face, okay? You take it across and you go, instead of painting 10 random figures, you paint 10 models for a unit in your army. So 10 Space Marines, or 10 Romanian riflemen, or 10 Gaulish warriors, anything, all the same, that are going to be for your army. And that excitement, I guarantee you, doesn't do this, it goes. Now that's still 10 figures, but because they're for something, it makes a difference. I promise you this. So, you might see where I'm going with this. If you take that level of excitement for, I painted a unit of 10 men for my army, and then you expand that across an army, it is the best feeling, okay? When you finished an army, it is like crack and shortbread. It's fantastic. There is nothing like writing up an army and planning it out and then putting the finishing touches on the last model and putting them on the table and going, okay, you can sit there and just enjoy your work, for hours. And you can play games with them, even, if that's where you want to go with it. But that's where I talk about sometimes the easy ways, especially if you're getting started, it is going to be more satisfying and more exciting to be able to just finish something. So when you're getting started as well, everything is practice. Okay, absolutely everything you paint will be practice. So if you start out and you're dry brushing your Space Marines rather than edge highlighting them, every time you dry brush a Marine, you are learning more about how paint comes off the brush. You're learning about how colors will interact with one another. You can use it as an opportunity to learn about how different paint manufacturers will come off the brush. You're learning everything. Everything is practice when you're getting started. So to get an army on the table, it's a personal thing. It's a deeply personal investment of time and effort and not talent. There is no talent, it's practice, right? Bob Ross said, anything that you practice, you can do. And I believe he was absolutely right. Now, I'm not the greatest painter out there. I see some of the stuff that's on YouTube or some of the stuff you'll see scrolling past on Twitter or Facebook, and I get a little jealous because someone else's work looks that good. But you can turn that into energy. You can turn that into, I want to improve. But I think to really improve, having a command of the basics is important. So that's where how I paint things comes in. This is all the basics. It's normally how I'll paint my own armies because, honestly, I paint models to play games, mostly. So I don't need to be perfect. I'm using them as counters on a board game. Okay? But I want them to look a little bit better than a piece of red plastic, so I paint them. Now, that is where I come from with my painting and my style and sort of what I want to try and do with this channel. And this is why I get really excited when someone actually shows me. I've had a couple of people send me photos of the work they've done after having watched my videos. And that's the coolest. It's really exciting because somebody finished a thing and was really keen and wanted to show it off. And that's that contact high again. There's that fat little spider going, ha 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 ha, toy soldiers. So there is something touched in this egghead, I promise you. But that is, like I said, crack and shortbread. It is amazing. So I'll wrap this up. I don't want to ramble for too long. But I might do one of these sort of blog videos, say once a week or so, just to say hi and sort of talk a little bit about what I'm doing and ask you guys what you might want to see next. I've got a towel guy I want to paint up, do a video for that. But then for a few videos, I want to sort of step away a little from 40k and Age of Sigmar stuff, because I've painted a lot of that recently. If you go over the last few videos, almost all of it's either Space Marines or something. So I want to find something else, just for a couple of videos, to show you some guys, some of the other stuff that's out there in the world. I want this to be a sort of celebration of everything that's out there. Citadel and Games Workshop is where I cut my teeth. It's where I got started. But you can, too, see more of the world that's out there. So that's what I want this to be. So, as ever, guys, you can get in touch with me. I try and keep up with all of the comments that are here on YouTube. You can drop them down in the comments box there. My Twitter and my Facebook both are linked in there as well. So, as ever, guys, that's my cue. Thank you very much for your time, and enjoy the rest of your day.